Hi, welcome to Bookie. Today we will unlock the book Open, an autobiography. Andre Agassi is an American professional tennis player. He won 60 tournaments in his stellar 21-year professional career, including a spectacular 8 Grand Slam titles. In 1999, the 29-year-old Agassi clinched his epic victory at the French Open, making him the first career Golden Slam male player in tennis history. The Golden Slam is all 4 majors plus Olympic gold. Agassi retired after the 2006 US Open because of injuries. Agassi's life had already been set in motion by his father even before leaving the cradle. Spurred by his father, the young Agassi underwent brutal training. And after hitting several million balls each year, he turned professional at 16. Ultimately, after battling through thousands of tough matches, he finally lived up to his father's expectations by becoming the world's #1 ranked player. But as with many athletes pushed from a very young age by their parents, tennis and life were always in conflict in his world. In the end, that resulted in a long-lasting aversion to the sport. Agassi's wild, uninhibited image over the years was clearly a rebellion against his father's control. Still, the bad boy image made him a compelling figure even beyond the tennis world. But the emotional roller coaster of the peaks of victories and the troughs of defeats caused thoughts of retirement to take root in his mind time and time again. And meanwhile, the waves of criticism he had been bearing weighed heavily on his mind as well. Ultimately, though after his retirement, Agassi became a beloved superstar, not only for his skills and victories, but also for his extraordinary charisma, sportsmanlike spirit, and philanthropic deeds. In this book, Agassi tells the story of his contradictory and conflicted life which oscillated between self-destruction and self-improvement. Maybe you don't know who Andre Agassi is, and maybe you don't like tennis. Still, this biography reflects more than just a tennis story. Everybody who likes a story of triumph over fate can find themselves in this book. We can ruminate on Agassi's experience. How will you deal with a situation where you can't choose your life and destiny on your own? The book is a collaboration between Andre Agassi and American journalist and writer J.R. Moehringer. But Moehringer insisted that the book belonged only to Agassi, telling him that the book is about his stories, his people, and his battles. Nevertheless, under the literary presentation of the winner of the Pulitzer Prize Moehringer, Agassi's tumultuous life story was hailed as the most revealing, literate, and toes-stompingly honest sports autobiography in history. Open, an autobiography is one of the most complex, profound, subtle, and down-to-earth introspections a prominent figure can make. Time magazine described the book as one of the best sports autobiographies of all time for its moving story and literary excellence. In this bookie, we will unveil the book in 3 parts. Part 1, his aspiration to be #1 in the world. Part 2, opening the road to #1. Part 3, Agassi's brand new life. Even before birth, Agassi's father decided he would be a professional tennis player. While still in the crib, his father hung tennis balls for him to track with his eyes. He also crafted him a ping-pong paddle to fit his hand and to hit the balls with. The early learning paid off. At just 1 year old, he proved his father right. Watching a ping-pong game, Agassi surprised everyone by moving just his eyes, not his head. "He's a natural," his father exclaimed. At 3 years old and about as tall as a tennis racket, his father started his formal tennis training. When Agassi was 4 years old, his father declared, "He's going to be #1 in the world. Andre," he says, "you've got to eat, sleep, and drink tennis. It's the only way you're going to be #1. Agassi's father Emmanuel was an Iranian-born Armenian who was exposed to tennis as a teenager. Later, Emmanuel became a boxer and represented Iran in 2 Olympic Games in the bantamweight division. Having broadened one's horizons at the Olympics, Emmanuel forged a passport, snuck out of Iran, ended up in Chicago, and gave himself an Americanized name, Mike Agassi. Mike Agassi met his wife in Chicago, and they eloped to up-and-coming gambling town Las Vegas where they ended up living and raising 4 children. Mike worked extremely